Hey, good evening, everyone. State Representative Brad Halbrook here on another Tuesday live stream roundtable and town hall. I've been joined with leader of the Freedom Caucus, chairman of the Illinois Freedom Caucus, Chris Miller. Welcome. And the state director of the Illinois Freedom Caucus, Colin Mosley. Welcome, gentlemen. We're partway here between Christmas and New Year's. I hope Christmas has went well, and I hope you're looking forward to a happy new year like I am. It's been good so far this winter. And the snow has came and gone, and the frozen ground is here. And of course, it's kind of like being winter with the temperatures out there. So, gentlemen, welcome. Chris, any opening thoughts before we get into the slides, and then we'll go to Colin and then get right into it.
Well, I know that it's always challenging to have livestock in this with the wild weather swings that we've been having, but right now I'm enjoying the poor man's concrete because the ground is hard and nobody's getting stuck.
Yeah, that makes it nice. Colin, how's things in your neighborhood?
Well, we had a really Merry Christmas with the little one, and things are good over the holiday break. And I'm just mostly happy that Santa Claus made it through Chicago airspace without getting shot down. So that was good news for the kiddos.
Well, hopefully he started maybe at the south and worked his way to the north, but either way, it turned out well. So, yeah. Well, let's get right into it. So we're on the day 7 through 12 of the 12 days of Governor J.B. Pritzker's Christmas crisis, and we've got several interesting topics to discuss here in this roundtable. And so let's get into issue 7 of the Pritzker's crisis that he gave to us. No election integrity, no voter ID. We've seen a lawsuit here from the Department of Justice suing the state of Illinois, trying to get some election data, trying to get the voter registration stuff. Colin, everywhere we go, hardly in this country anymore, we can't even check into a hotel. We can't. There's a lot of things. We have to have a vote. We have to have an ID to get checked into a hotel. Many other things have to have an ID. Give us your thoughts, Colin.
Well, the problem again, as you correctly stated, is the Democrats simply want to make it easy for there to be questions and the integrity. They don't want voter ID. They don't want paper ballots. They don't want election day. They want election season. And it's completely upended our election process to a point where, yeah, of course there's fraud. Of course there's terrible things going on, because at the end of the day, you're putting all this stuff in the hands of not only just, flawed people, but questionable technology and illegal immigrants that now have driver's licenses that can walk in and potentially be voting. And so it really throws up a red flag when you have something like, the Trump Department of Justice has finally stepped in and, is trying to essentially get access to the voter rolls to make sure that they have been cleaned and corrected, that they don't, have anybody who's dead, have any illegals, and the fight that the state of Illinois has put up against them ought to say a lot about what they might be knowing about our elections process that they don't want us to know.
Right. What's interesting, I hear more and more every week, constituents will come up to me and they've had family members, younger family members that have went off to college, moved out, maybe they're living out of state, but signed up for the mail-in, the vote by mail, the permanent list. And they've been gone for a number of years, and those mail-in ballots are still showing up at those houses. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so this permanent vote by mail list is really, it's just ripe with fraud. And again, you hit it right on the head there, Colin. Election season, election trimester, 40 days in advance of the election, early voting, vote by mail starts. And then they keep counting ballots for another 2 weeks after the election day closes. 54 days. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 55 days.
Yeah. And now we've found out that potentially these colleges and universities are improperly selling the data of our students to Democrat voter operations.
Right. Let's go on to the next slide here real quick to kind of keep them moving. On the 8th day of Governor J.B. Pritzker's crisis, he gave to us, Chris, no ethics reform. We have the longest serving Speaker of the House, the Illinois Speaker of the House, longer serving than any other speaker in the United States, went to prison this fall. He's been the architect of the ethics reform that we've had in the state of Illinois, which is non-existent basically. And yet this guy goes to prison issue after issue with ethics. What's your thoughts, Chris?
Well, we have a real sordid history when it comes to governors ending up in the slammer for an extended period of time. I'm not sure what that ratio is, but it's pretty high. If you're elected to be governor here in Illinois, there's a real good chance that you're going to end up in prison just because there is no such thing as ethics reform. I remember it hasn't been that long ago when we wanted to pretend like we cared about ethics here in the state of Illinois and tried to pass some legislation. And as they famously, the famous quote is, well, this bill's far from perfect, but at least it's a start. and and we can't even start dealing with the problem of zero ethics here in the state of Illinois. And I mean, you don't have to go look any further than our current sitting governor.
Right.
If we would have removed all the toilets from our house and defrauded the government to the tune of $300,000, guess where we would be? We wouldn't be sitting in our billionaire mansion. We'd be sitting in a cell.
Right. Right. Well, Chris, I think the math on the last, I think 4 of the last 8 or 9 governors. So in the last 5 or 6 decades, 4 of the last 7 or 8 or 9 have went to jail. So it's about a 50-50 shot that if you're a governor of the state of Illinois in the last 6 decades, you went to jail or maybe you're headed to jail. So quite the record, I must say. Illinois, where our governors make our license plates. So I guess in closing here, the question is, why haven't the Democrats passed any meaningful ethics reform? They've got super majorities in both chambers. They've got the governor's office. They've got everything they need, and they won't pass any meaningful reform.
You can only conclude that they're not interested. We always talk about being the home of truth, logic, and common sense, and J.B. Pritzker's tyrannical way that he runs the government. And when you think about it, tyrants are more concerned about a thinking populace than they are a sitting army, because they want you to not be paying attention and they want you to not know what's going on. But when we have guys like the principled leadership that we have here in the Illinois Freedom Caucus and critically thinking individuals that are members, it makes them real uncomfortable because they know that we know, and we're going to tell people.
Yeah. Colin, the 9th day of Christmas gave us a crisis of death. I mean, if it isn't bad enough in the state of Illinois that we've got late-term abortion that was passed a few years ago and signed into law, now they're going to get us on the other side with this medical aid in dying. It's kind of a dressed-up name for physician-assisted suicide. This is just another really, really, really bad idea. I've talked to coroners. I've talked to other law enforcement and other experts. This thing has got so many problems, so many places for fraud and abuse. It's I just don't know how this is going to go well. It just is not going to.
No, it's not going to. And again, what does it say about your state when the most popular policies from the controlling party, second to tax increases, is promotion of death, whether it be in the womb or at the end of your life? That's sort of what these people seem to care the most about, is making sure that the most accessible thing you can do to somebody is kill them. And we've got a serious problem.
Right. Exactly. I don't know if there's anything else to say on this one, but let's go to number 10. And this is the crisis of illegal immigration. Gentlemen, we've talked about this for the last few years. We went to the border almost 2 years ago to inspect the situation there. Mm-hmm. The crisis is still rampant in the state of Illinois. We've spent hundreds of millions or billions of dollars on healthcare and many other things, welcoming centers, doing everything, bending over backwards. Our government is bending over backwards to help these illegal aliens. These are individuals that are in this country illegally. They've crossed the border illegally under Joe Biden's administration. Thankfully, President Trump has put the kibosh to that. I've listened to Tom Homan recently, and he talks about how they have got the border pretty well wrapped up. But again, we still have a tremendous amount of illegal aliens living in our cities and small towns. Who knows where they all are? Anyhow, we still have a crisis. I don't know, Chris, if you want to discuss this real quick.
No, that's an excellent point that you make. Is we are still in the People's Republic of Illinois, still coddling and caring for the illegals and putting their interest over the interest of our struggling, hardworking young families here in the state of Illinois. And unfortunately, people are getting it figured out and they're voting with their feet. But this whole scam has to do with creating a new voting bloc for Democrats, because people that bleed red, white, and blue aren't going to vote for these radical Democrat policies that are destroying the economy, destroying the middle class, and continue to cause us to struggle to live here and pay our bills and thrive.
Right. Well, and it doesn't really matter where you go in the United States when you have tens of millions of illegal aliens. Some states are giving these folks, they can't even speak English, or giving them commercial driver's license or driving trucks, 40-ton vehicles, if you will, 80,000 pounds, high risk to the traveling public. And of course, again, it doesn't matter whether they're in a truck or a vehicle. We've had situations in this eastern part of Illinois where illegal aliens, intoxicated, hit and killed a county board member and his wife just a few months ago. The young college students in Champaign-Urbana a few months ago. The crisis is just anywhere and everywhere.
That's absolutely correct there, Representative. And it seems to me that the Democrats want to continue to pretend that there's no story here. And
right.
While many people that have lost their loved ones on a daily basis, when you think about it nationwide, rarely does a day go by where you don't hear about an illegal killing a citizen, whether it's in the state of Illinois or some other place here in the United States. But it's a complete travesty brought to you by J.B. Pritzker and the radical Democrats.
Right. And I think as we close this slide out, Governor Pritzker is standing in between federal law enforcement and these criminals, whether they're rapists, murderers, drug dealers, whatever kind of criminality they're engaged in. Governor Pritzker stands in the middle of law enforcement from the feds and protecting his people. So it's just, it's a sad state of affairs. Yep. Let's go on to number 11. Thank you. Illinois budget, 16 billion growth, almost 17 billion growth in the last since 2019. This is almost a 40% increase in spending, tax increases, fee increases, toll increases as of the veto session in October. And again, we identified, thanks to Jeannie Ives and her organization, and we rolled this story out back in May, bogus NGOs in the state of Illinois receiving $1 billion+ worth of government tax money, our tax money, spending on all kinds of crazy poor projects. And if you're a Democrat, you get extra money for your districts because you're a Democrat and you vote for this crazy stuff. And the list goes on and on. DEI spending, pension debt. Again, it's just a ballooning budget that they just keep raising $1 billion+ tax dollars a year. I think the estimates are there's been 50 tax increases since Governor Pritzker took office back in 2019. Colin, do you have anything to add? And then Chris, maybe, and then we'll go on to the next slide.
Well, the only thing I have to add is these numbers are bad now. If J.B. Pritzker gets a third term, I can't even begin to fathom where they're headed. I mean, we will have a $60-some billion budget by 2027 or 2028.
Exactly.
And less people to show for it.
Right. And what we're seeing in Minnesota going on right now in real time is probably a real snapshot or a mirror image of what's happening in Illinois, just from the little bit of digging that we've done on the NGOs, et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, for a shining example is that Speaker Welsh received $40 million for a new football field in his old alma mater there. And so, but I mean, those types of things just keep keep showing up all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So Nick Sorter, if you're out there, you're welcome to come to Illinois when you finish your job in Minnesota and start checking out our daycare facilities and NGOs that are state funded.
Do you suppose would they spell the name of the facility correctly in Illinois versus what happened in Minnesota?
I don't know. Depends if the IEA runs it or not.
It just depends. Yeah. All right. Let's go on to day 12. Energy price disasters. This is a crisis beyond belief. This is hitting every person that lives in the state of Illinois. You may not pay an electric bill, but the products that you're buying, some of the services that you're consuming have electricity into them, and the electricity rates we've seen this summer for some homeowners, and even, I mean, it hits businesses, farmers, everybody has went up double and triple or more in some places, and is forecast to be higher yet next summer with these capacity auctions that have been taking place over the last several months. And again, we see the green energy scam. Chris, I know you making a big deal about this, and you're right to do so. But they're prematurely closing down our baseload generation of coal and natural gas plants, putting these arbitrary dates onto them, hoping that their Green New Deal fantasies of wind and solar is going to provide what we need for a future energy future in the state of Illinois. And it's just crazy, some of the policy that is being passed in the state of Illinois.
I know you're exactly right, Brad. And what they're doing, ultimately, the bottom line is they're destroying the middle class, and they're destroying the economy here in the state of Illinois because of the green energy scam. It won't work. It will never work. It was never meant to work. It's all about control and helping the Chinese Communist Party rule and conquer the world. That's all we're doing. We need to drill, baby, drill, and dig, baby, dig.
Right. Yeah. Well, we're sitting on some of the largest coal reserves in the nation. We need to ramp up nuclear construction and energy in the state of Illinois. And we've not even got a chance. They made the fracking there a few years ago. They made the fracking legislation so egregious, so difficult that nobody can make that work. They need to loosen that up so we can frack some of these reserves and get the natural gas and restore some energy independence in this state. So, Colin, I'll leave it up to you. Is there anything you have before we go into the final session? Final slide. What's the good news? Colin, give us the good news.
The good news is, as the slide says, that all these crises are results of bad public policy, and they can be corrected. And you've heard us here at the Freedom Caucus say it before, that the best policy that we can propose is to simply just undo the policies that have been passed by the Democrats. I mean, we need to undo the gun ban and registration. We need to undo green energy. We need to undo the repeal of parental notification and late-term abortion. We need to undo these tax increase, the gas tax. I mean, you know, it's sort of simple, and so the correction is possible. But in order to do that, the people have got to get out. They've got to finally say they've had enough, and they've got to vote and quit voting for the people that are raising their taxes every time they go to Springfield. That's the Democrats.
Yeah, exactly. Well, gentlemen, it's been quite a year. And Colin, this is where you can direct people to find us with all our different sources, of whether it's the website or the Substack. Any thoughts here about how the Substack's going?
Just, New Year coming and new session coming. These guys are headed to Springfield here in a few weeks. So
yeah, exactly. And so with that, we appreciate everybody that has joined in and shared and liked and commented on our content. That helps us to get the word out. Chris, you're right, as the chairman of the Freedom Caucus, talking about the home of truth, logic, and common sense. And this is where conservatism lives and thrives. But however, we've got to branch out. We've got to have each and every one of you out there helping us with this message. So with that, let's just close out for the evening and say good night. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.